All right. Hope everyone's doing well today. We're going to give it just a moment, let some people come in here before we get started. Do me a favor, whenever you come in, leave where you're from in the chat for me, and we'll get started. I know a lot of people will be watching this on the replay, so I'm not going to spend too much time at the beginning here. If you miss something, you come in live later, just rewind it and go back or watch it another time. But we're going to get into it, guys. So, um, the question of the day, as you can see, we're not at the restaurant, guys. I guess I should give some backstory. We're not at the restaurant currently, right? We're at the house in the home office. Um, so, I unfortunately am not going to be opening the restaurant this weekend due to an injury. I actually ended up having an acute appendicitis over last weekend. So, kind of tell you what happened. So, Friday we opened, everything was smooth, no problem. Hey TJ, what's going on, brother? So Friday we opened, no problem, everything was smooth. Had a decent day, and then Saturday we opened, and Saturday morning, probably around 9:10, I started feeling pretty bad, and man, stomach hurted, just felt really awful all of a sudden. It's not like I woke up feeling that way. I started feeling that way after I got to the restaurant, so I knew it wasn't the flu or anything like that. I know I wasn't going to get anybody sick, and um, what happened was I just was feeling a lot of pain in my stomach, and along with other symptoms throughout the day. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna push through it. I need to get through the weekend, make my money, do my thing, serve these people some good barbecue, and I have the rest of the week to get better, right? And so what happened was we worked all the way through Saturday. I had a good amount of help on Saturday, which was great because I was really almost useless besides cutting meats and doing stuff like that. And so we closed at 5 o'clock. I rushed home, took some Tylenol, took a shower, got a bath, stuff like that. Was trying to really kind of get over it. And then me and my wife started looking up kind of symptoms that I was having and whatnot. And something that kept coming up that match was appendicitis. And I was like, man, there's no way I have appendicitis, right? That's not, nah, there's no way. But all of the symptoms matched up. And so we were like, all right, well, let's have dinner and then let's go to the emergency room. So we ordered dinner. It was getting ready to arrive. I actually had a friend who had appendicitis months ago, and we got him on the phone. He was like, "Yep, all your symptoms match what I had. You need to go to the ER." So we go to the ER and do blood work, all that good stuff. And it turns out, yes, I did have acute appendicitis. It was inflamed and everything. And they were like, "All right, we have to get this out." And so what ended up happening was um, I made the decision, obviously, to close for Sunday, and they did it. I stayed in the hospital Saturday night, all of Sunday, and they did the surgery Sunday morning. And I spent the rest of Sunday in the hospital, spent the night there, and they were able to remove that appendix. So I appreciate that, TJ, man. Yeah, it was crazy. Came out of nowhere. As far as I know, there's no real cause for it to happen. It just kind of happens to some people at some point in their life. And so they removed the appendix. It was in the stomach, in the abdominal area. They made 4 incisions. So it was kind of crazy, happened in last minute, kind of emergency surgery. It was definitely something I haven't done before. So it's been what I had it done on Sunday. It's now Thursday, so it's been about 4-ish, 4.5, 5 days, right? And so just been recovering, laying low, watching TV, nothing crazy, kind of preparing and figuring out when I'm going to be able to make it back to the restaurant, right? But that's kind of why the topic of this video today is, when should you hire employees? And I started thinking about this because I started thinking, okay, the doctor said that I need to kind of lay low for 1 to 3 weeks, essentially. And he was like, for the next 2 weeks, don't pick up anything that's heavier than 10 pounds. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to run a restaurant when I've got this still lingering, not pain from the appendix, but pain from the surgery now? in my abdomen. I can't really lift anything. And this coming from a guy, man, I was lifting heavy weights just days before this happened. So um, I'm trying to figure out, all right, what should I have had in place before this happened so that I didn't miss any time? So we were closed Sunday. Okay, so only one day last weekend, but we're going to be closed this weekend all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For those of you who don't know, I only open on the weekends. I open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's kind of the nature of the barbecue business. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Briskets take 12 hours. If you ran it a 24/7 operation, if you ran a barbecue restaurant 7 days a week, you need to have a good amount of specialized trained staff to do that. And that might be something that we do at one point, but as of right now, I'm the only pit master. I'm the only person who has the specialty skills to actually smoke the meats properly. And so we're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this weekend, we're going to be closed, okay? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I'm still recovering this. I'm still not supposed to be lifting anything. And to be honest with you guys, it's still pretty sore. I'm still a little bit out of it. So, what could I have done to make sure that the business continued running even though I wasn't there? And the first thing that popped in my head, or the most obvious thing, would have been to have people in place to be able to handle it without me, right? And so the question is, when should you hire employees? And my answer after this experience is right away. In fact, I think you need to have an idea of who you're going to hire and what you're going to do, what your plan is going to be before you even think about opening your food truck or your restaurant. Because the thing is, if you're a one man show, okay, or at least you're the one person that if you're not in the business working in the business, then it's not going to go. Then you can have a lot of issues, and your dream of owning a restaurant or owning a food truck can go up in flames very quickly if something unexpected happens, like what I had happen. Right, I had no control of. There's no real cause. It wasn't diet related. It wasn't all these crazy things like, oh, you could have prevented it. No, when the appendix happens, it just happens from what the doctor said. So you need to have kind of a contingency plan in place. And the best way to do that is really having people on staff that you can count on to be in your place if for some reason you can't be there. Whether you get sick, you have some kind of emergency surgery like I did, you have a conflicting schedule, funerals, vacation, all kinds of different reasons why you may not be able to be in your business. And I know what you're thinking because I was thinking the same thing is, hey, look, we got to run lean at the beginning, right? Which is true. You want to run lean at the beginning. A lot of it is going to be on you. You are going to be doing a lot of the hard work. But after this experience, what I can tell you is I wish I would have trained somebody to be able to do what I do on the smokers. That way I could have been open Sunday, and that way I could be open this weekend and not have to close down, because closing down, number one, not making any money, but the bills are still due, right? Number two, consistency. When you open a restaurant or a food truck or a food cart or whatever you're doing, you want to make sure you have consistency in what your customers are going to, when they're going to, so on and so forth. Customer loyalty is a thing that I bring up when it comes to consistency, because if you have a establishment where your customers come by and sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not, then the next time they think about coming to your place, they're gonna think twice because they're saying, "Oh, I really want to go get this barbecue, but I don't know if the guy's gonna be there. I never know if he's gonna be there. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not." And that can lose you customers and lose you business and loyalty right there. Okay. Not to mention cash flow, right? Just because you're out, you still want that cash to be flowing. That's the problem with having a regular job, right? Is that if you're not there, you're not getting paid, right? And so when it comes to making sure cash flow is still happening, you got to have people in place that can do the job even if you cannot. Okay. And so I would say before you even open your restaurant, your food truck, whatever the case may be, you need to have people that you can count on to help you run it, even if you're not there. Now, I have people that help me out with the restaurant, some paid, some volunteers, right? However, none of them I had actually trained to trim the meats, right? To season the meats, to smoke them. how much wood to use, how to operate the smoker, how to do all those things that I was doing. I hadn't replicated myself yet. And partially that's because, I'm young, I'm healthy. I didn't really think I would need to anytime soon. And partially it's just because, I already had that thought in my idea of I need to train somebody to learn to do what I do. But everything's been so fast. We got into space very, very recently that honestly, I really, it's haven't had the time to be able to do that. And so my goal this week is really to figure out, okay, who do I have that can help me get this place back open? And who do I have that I can either train to do what I'm doing or bring somebody in who already has experience? That way, in the event that I need extra help, large caterings, big events, we should just start getting busier out of nowhere, or that I have an issue where I can't be there, I can train them to do what I do. And so that's kind of what I'm focusing on this week and figure out, okay, who can I call on? Who can I get to help me kind of do this thing? Um, excuse me, so that I can get back open as soon as possible, right? And so that's kind of what I wanted to discuss today was when should you hire an employee, okay? And this, guys, just so you know, I know hiring employees is something that if you haven't done before, it can be a big deal mentally for you. Thinking about the paperwork and the money you got to pay them and logistics and everything, right? But don't complicate it, okay? First and foremost, start off with volunteers, man. Start off with volunteers. Start off with people who love you, care about you, friends, family, who want to see you succeed, and see if they're willing to help out with your pop-ups. See if they're willing to help out with your food truck. See if they're willing to help out in your restaurant. Okay, maybe it's just running the cash register. Maybe it's just wiping down tables. Whatever maybe it's helping you set up. Right, whatever the case may be. Get volunteers that can help you out first because you're not bringing in much or any profit. Okay, and then you want to start looking for some people that, hey, if they were really good volunteers, if they're reliable, dependable, or if you just find somebody else that you're wanting to pay, okay, don't pay them anything ridiculous, but pay them enough to where they're willing to come out and help you. They're not going to no show, okay, no call, no show on you. And, pay them just for the time that you need them. So if you're going to be working a 12-hour shift, but you really only need them for six, only bring them in for the 6 hours. Tell them, hey, for us, let's say you're working six a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, and 6 a.m. to noon is really just set up and prep. If you can do that by yourself, and you just kind of need them to take cash and take money for the register, stuff like that from your guests and customer service, then just have them from noon to six. Okay, so that you're not paying somebody for the entire day's worth of work. Okay. Um, but I would highly recommend bringing some people in to help you with your operation as quickly as possible and teaching them everything that they need to know. Okay. So if you need someone to run the cash register, you need to train them up quickly to be able to do that. If you need someone to be able to cook the food and do what you're doing, do that quickly. If you need someone to prep because you're too busy doing other stuff, you need to teach them how to do that ASAP. That way you don't have any issues if something happens. And for a seasoned business owner, for a seasoned restaurateur, this might sound self-explanatory, but for the people in my audience who are just thinking about starting a pop-up, who are just thinking about purchasing a food truck, who are brand new to the game, this is not obvious. And even me, with all of my experience, I wasn't quite there yet to where I was ready or had the time to actually bring somebody in and train them to be a pit master in my business. So far, it's just been me as far as cooking goes, and that may have to change at least just to have somebody on call for situations like this. Because once again, like you said, rent's due the first of every month, and whether or not your business is operating or not is going to determine whether that money is coming out of your personal bank account or if it's coming out of the business bank account. And it's never fun to pull out of your own piggy bank. You want to pull it out of the profits that you made from the business, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on when you should think about hiring somebody. If anybody watching has any questions, leave them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. Kind of chop it up. TJ, I know he was in here. If you have any questions, man, leave them in the chat. Anybody got any questions, leave them in the chat and we will talk about it. But yeah, you gotta be able to hire somebody to be able to do what you do, and I would do it quickly. I would do it at the beginning because, like I said, I had to have emergency surgery. I came out of nowhere. I'm a relatively healthy person, was not expecting it at all. Okay. And that is knocked me off of my track as far as being open. Okay. So um, that is something that I'm going to have to recover from, and not only physically, but also financially figure out, okay, when can we be back open? And during that time that we're not open, who can I hire to be able to do what I do so we can get back open quicker? And so that next time this happens, it doesn't affect business happening, right? And another thing, even thinking long term here, right? A business, you can be an operator or an owner. Okay. There's nothing wrong with being an operator. Nothing wrong with being an operator. But there's a difference between working in your business and on your business. And for a long time, especially in a restaurant, for a long time, you're going to have to work in your business. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you want to be working more on your business than in your business. And so you want to start taking steps towards that so that when the time comes, you're in a position to do so. Things happen. Sickness, surgery, conflicting schedules, funerals, all kinds of stuff happens. Here's another one for you people who are like, oh, I never get sick. I'm good. I'm healthy. All that good stuff. I don't need to replace myself. I'm a healthy person. I'm good. This would never happen to me. Okay, let's say that. Let's say you're a healthy person. You're never going to get sick. You're never going to have a day off that you need off. Cool. What about if you have another event? What if you've got your restaurant and there's a festival 30 minutes away, an hour away, that's going to have thousands and thousands of customers. And you would like to be at that festival. You would love your business to be at that festival, but you're busy running the restaurant and you don't have anybody that can do what you can do to go work that festival. Now you're missing out on money, right? And so whether or not you want to be the man and you want to be able to control and do everything and you don't want to teach anyone anything else, not only is that going to limit you in situations where you're not able to be there for some reason, but that's also going to limit you in your money making ability because if you're the only one who can cook the food and you got that event across town, right? You're going to miss out on that event. You're going to miss out on the money, the promotion, the opportunity, the connections, everything. So you need to train once, and I'm not saying do this before you even have anything established. Get something established. Start doing your pop up. Like I said, start bringing on volunteers. If you need to hire somebody for the time that you need. But get your concept down. And once you have a good concept down, you've got all your recipes written down, not in your head, written down, got all your cooking techniques, you know what you're doing. You've either got a restaurant, a food truck, or you're consistently doing pop up events. That's what you need to start thinking about, training somebody and paying somebody to be able to do what you do in the business. And my side of the business, I have people who can work the cash register. Yeah, I have people who can work the restaurant, open the restaurant, who I trust. I can give them keys. That's not the issue. That's not an issue. The bottleneck in my business is my expertise in the kitchen and on the smoker. That's where the bottleneck and the problem became in my business when I had this emergency surgery was, yeah, I had people to go and work the cash register. I had people to go and do the customer service. I had people to go wipe off the tables, but I didn't have anybody to cook the food. Because barbecue is one of those things, it's not hamburgers and hot dogs. You're cooking briskets for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours at a time. You're trimming up, you know, pieces of meat that are 15, 20 pounds. How do you do that? Right? If you don't have training, if you've never trimmed a 15, 20 pound brisket before, and you're expected to do that for 20, 30, 40, 50 guests, that's going to be an issue. And then on top of that, you're expected to know how to manage a fire. You're expected to know how to season the meat. You're expected to know when it's ready. You're expected to know all those things, and you haven't had proper training. It's just not going to work. And so that's why we had to close the restaurant on Sunday. That's why we're closing this weekend, is so that I can recover from this surgery and I can get back uh, on my feet and really hit the ground running. But you best believe during the time that I'm out and when I get back, I'm going to be training somebody on the pits that can learn how to work the smoker, learn how to do everything I do, from trimming the meats, seasoning the meats, temperatures, how it's supposed to taste, all the recipes, all that good stuff. I'm going to be teaching somebody how to do that. So, if you guys have questions, leave them in the chat. I know TJ was in here earlier. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. I've made videos so far on opening the restaurant. I made videos on running pop-up events for food. I run tons of videos how to prep for a restaurant, so on and so forth. Any restaurant-related questions, food-related questions, barbecue-related questions, leave them in the chat. Excuse me. I'd love to be able to answer those questions for you. So for those of you who have just come in a little bit late, um, on Saturday night, I went to the emergency room. I had acute appendicitis. It was inflamed. It needed to be my appendix needed to be removed surgically. So Sunday morning, ended up having to get surgery, and they removed my appendix. So I went into the hospital about 6:30 Saturday night. Spent the night in the hospital. Okay, Sunday morning had the surgery. Spent all of Sunday in the hospital, and then was discharged Monday afternoon. Okay. Now, the impact on the business was I obviously was closed on Sunday, and I'm going to be closed this weekend because although I may look okay, I got stitches all over my stomach. They had to slice into me a little bit, right? And I got to recover. It's still very sore, still very tender. Not supposed to be lifting anything heavier than 10 pounds. My briskets weigh more than 10 pounds, right? Um, so I'm not going to be able to open this weekend because I didn't train anybody to do what I know how to do on the smoker and in the restaurant, in the kitchen. And so right now, what we're talking about is, hey, who can you train to do what you do that you can rely on in the event of your absence? So, if nobody has any questions, I'm gonna give this maybe another minute or so, but I'm gonna end the stream. I wanted to come on here, guys, to go over this topic, but also let you guys know, hey, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm gonna be all right. We're gonna be coming back to you with more videos. I know it's been maybe 6, 7 days since I made a video, so I wanted to upload one for you guys. And we will be back in the restaurant setting very soon, and we will be getting back after it, guys. TJ asks, are you using prime briskets at the restaurant? Yes, TJ, I am using prime briskets at the restaurant um, for a couple reasons. So there's kind of like a matrix that is out there with briskets and smokers. And this is how I view it. The better the smoker, the less quality brisket you can use and still come out with a good product. The worse the smoker, the better the brisket quality you better have to come out with a good product. And there is a balance. But right now, since I'm the smoker that I'm operating on, the smokers that I have, they're not professional smokers. Okay, this is a video I'm going to do this upcoming week, actually, on whether or not you can start a barbecue catering business or even a restaurant with a backyard cooker, with a backyard smoker. Um, I'm going to do a video on that. I'm going to go in depth, the pros and cons, and can you actually do it, so on and so forth. But the smokers that I use currently, you can go to Academy Sports and Outdoors and buy them. Now, if you're not in Texas, disregard what I said, because if you're not in Texas, you probably have some really bad smoker options. In Texas and probably some parts of Oklahoma, you're going to have some higher quality smokers that they sell at some of these sporting goods stores. Not Oklahoma Joe's. Do not get Oklahoma Joe's if you're trying to really take this seriously. Okay. But there's a company called Old Country Brazos, I think it's called, and they make their pits in Mexico, but the steel, the metal that they use is really, really good quality. It's very thick for the price range. Those smokers you're going to get between 500 and on the high end, I think maybe 1,500, $2,000. Okay, that's not very expensive for a smoker. Okay, that might sound expensive for a backyard smoker, but not for a professional pit. And so, TJ, to kind of circle back around to your question, I knew that if I wanted to come out with a great product on an inferior smoker, I needed to start with the best product possible, and that would be a prime brisket. Um, Now, some people will use a select brisket. What's up, Jeremy? What's up, brother? I hope you're doing well, man. Some people will use a different grade of brisket, a lower grade of brisket, but they have really high-end smokers, 10, 15, 20, 25,000, $30,000 smokers, and there's advantages to those more expensive professional smokers. I'll give you an example, okay? On a small cooker, okay? The cook space where you put your brisket is very close to the firebox where your wood and your fire is coming out of. Now, there's a deflector plate there, but that's only going to block so much heat. And so, your briskets inside that small smoker, I'm using mine as an example, the one I have now, they're taking on more direct heat than they should be. And that's why a lot of times when I cook my briskets, unfortunately, the bottoms of the brisket typically end up being a little harder than I would like. And usually the bottoms of the briskets end up being really tough to slice, really tough. The bottom of the brisket ends up being really tough to make look good. Now, I've got a technique that I've made it look really presentable, okay? But the reason the bottom of my briskets is a little rough, is a little tough, okay, is because it's getting more direct heat when it should be. If I had a big professional cooker, which I'm planning on getting here in the next few months, then that brisket could be put next to the smokestack as far away from the firebox as possible. And there's enough space in between to where it's not getting that direct heat and the bottom's not going to burn up and it's not going to be an issue. Okay. And so, um, like I said, to kind of circle back, I know I'm rambling, but to kind of circle back, yes, I use prime briskets at the restaurant because I want to be able to get the best product possible for my customers. Now, I'm testing out uh, a few different new briskets in the next couple of weeks, um, different weights briskets and different grades to kind of get a good balance of what I want to do with my current smoker. The brisket that you smoke is going to be dependent on the smoker that you have, period. Okay. Right now, I get 14-pound, 14, 15-pound briskets, prime briskets. Okay. And they are some big old boys meant for a big, long 250, honestly, probably 500-gallon, 1,000-gallon smoker. And I do not have that yet. And so what I'm looking to do is I'm going to actually get some about 11-pound briskets. By the time they're trimmed, they'll probably be 8 or 9 pounds. Right, probably 9, 10 pounds to be honest. I won't have to trim these super aggressively, and they're actually Angus briskets. And so we're going to see how those go. Those being smaller, I'll be able to put them a little bit further from the firebox. Okay, and hopefully that will fix my issue. And since they're smaller, they should actually cook faster as well. So we're going to see how it goes, but it's all about experimenting. It's all about experimenting. Said I have a chef pellet smoker and a cabinet pellet smoker right now. Yeah, I've heard really good things about the pellet smokers. You can get a really clean, consistent burn with those. Um, for the backyard, I don't have anything against it. I'm just kind of old fashioned the way that I learned, the way I was taught, the way that I like to do it. The way my grandpa did it was with good old fashioned wood, man. Good old fashioned wood splits, logs, and it really allows you to control the fire exactly the way you want it. It's a lot harder than a pellet smoker, but I think it's a lot more rewarding, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, people have come up with some really great products, really good briskets out of pellet smokers. Excuse me, it's really set it and forget it. You're able to adjust the temperature dial and get it exactly the way you want it. I definitely understand the allure of it, but for me, if I'm charging people $30, $34 a pound for brisket, I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way, man. I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way, and I love the process. I really do. I love the process. What smoker company are you gonna go with to have your smoker built? There's a company out of Brookshire, Texas, called PRM Barbecue Co. PRM Barbecue Co. The owner's name's Paul. Paul Mata is his name, and I've been in communication with them for several months. They make some really nice pits, some really nice pits. They're somewhat local to me in the Houston area, and I want to support those guys. They do a lot of really good work, and they're really good on social media. Um, I'm planning on getting a 500-gallon smoker on skids from them. I'm currently in the process of making a smokehouse for that said smoker. Um, and yeah, so that's getting built. The smokehouse is getting built, and then I'm working with them on getting a 500-gallon smoker for the restaurant. So that's the company I'm using. I'm in the process of building a 150-gallon offset smoker. Just taking a long time because of work. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it, man. Especially if you're doing it yourself. I don't have the expertise to do it myself, to be honest with you guys. I'm a restaurant guy. I've done restaurants for a long time. I did insurance for a long time. Definitely, I'm big and strong. I lift a lot of weights to do my thing, but I'm not a welder. I don't have that kind of expertise, guys. But I can imagine doing it yourself in your spare time around work would not be not be an easy feat. But that's cool, man. That's cool that you're doing that. You're an hour and 51 minutes away. I'm almost 2 hours into living into Houston. I love me some brisket, man. What's up, Aunt Dawn? What's up, man? Happy to have you here. Happy to have you here. Glad you were able to catch the live, man. Yeah, you should come through, Aunt. I'll keep you updated. Shoot me a message on Instagram, Aunt. Shoot me a message on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Kirby's Barbie. It should just be Kirby's Barbecue, man. Should just be Kirby's Barbecue on Instagram. Shoot me a follow and a message, and I always keep people updated on when I'm going to be open on Instagram. Typically, the original schedule is every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 11 to 5 p.m. However, like I mentioned in the video, man, I had emergency appendicitis. I had a surgery done, so that put me out last Sunday. It's going to put me out this weekend, so we won't be open this weekend. But I'm working on correcting um, that issue by training somebody up, having somebody who can do what I do there. That way, we can stay open for our customers and for our cash flow, obviously. So I'm working on that, and I'll probably be open. I don't want to give a date yet, but when I do, it'll be on the website. But it'll definitely be by the end of the month. It'll definitely be by the end of the month. So I'll let you know. You should come through, man, and we'll get you squared away. Jeremy, right on, man. What wood you use? Myself, mesquite and pecan. I use post oak. Jeremy, I'm not sure where you're at, but here in kind of central or southeast Texas, we use post oak. It's kind of the wood that's central to the area, and it's what's readily available. And I like using post oak, and a lot of people in barbecue in this area like using post oak because it's a very mild burning wood. It's a very mild wood. It can burn low, it can burn low and slow, or it can burn hot and fast. And it's also a very mild taste. It doesn't have a really, really strong taste like mesquite does. And so we like that around here. We like that subtle wood flavor, especially if we're doing briskets for 10, 11, 12 hours. That smoke builds up. We don't need a really, really strong wood to do. I know a lot of people in certain areas of the country, even in Texas, West Texas use a lot of mesquite, um, and that. But around here, Central Texas, we use post oak. And I do have a Facebook, but I'm not super active on there, man. Um, Usually it's YouTube or Instagram for me. YouTube or Instagram is what I use primarily. But like I said, I always keep y'all updated on Instagram when I'm going to be open, and I try to on YouTube as well. Usually, if I'm going to be open on a weekend, that means I'm prepping during the week. And if I'm prepping food during the week, usually I got the camera on, I'm recording a video. Um, fellow YouTuber RC Edson, go check him out. If you guys are into business, stocks, real estate, life. I mean, he talks about everything, but he's been a real big help in getting me and this channel going, as well as giving me some advice on the business. So um, he's very he's encouraged me to really start uploading videos a lot more often for you guys and kind of showing the process, and I enjoy doing it. So go check out his channel. But yeah, like I was saying, is if I'm opening for the weekend during the week, I'm usually prepping food and doing stuff for the restaurant, running around running errands, and that's usually when I turn the camera on for you guys and give you a glimpse inside the restaurant and what I'm doing. So most of the time, if I'm filming during the week, I'm probably going to be open that weekend. Probably going to be open that weekend. Jeremy, I grew up in North Texas. Pops is a pitmaster too, so grew up around smokers. Awesome, man. Awesome. What kind of smoker did he use? And was he a mesquite and pecan guy himself, or did he use post oak? And there's nuances, right? Too different proteins taste a little bit different, or you can give them a little bit of different kind of flavor profile with different woods. As an example, like my grandfather, he used to use cherry wood for his ribs. Pork already kind of has a sweet taste to it, and then when you match it with the cherry wood, it goes really good. So he used to use cherry wood for his ribs, and I really enjoyed that. I was planning on doing that as well, but I knew I was going to do post oak for my briskets, and so just kind of keeping one wood is a lot easier than trying to do two different woods for two different proteins and things like that. And then you got turkeys and you got all kinds of other proteins that I'm doing. So, whether it's pulled pork, turkey, ribs, brisket, pork belly, we're going to be doing pork belly soon. So with all those different proteins, I just kind of want to stick with one wood and keep it simple. But I am a fan of cherry on ribs for sure. 1,000 gallon, man, Jeremy, you don't get 1,000 gallon unless you're selling, man. You've got a lot of briskets on 1,000 gallon. Was he selling barbecue? Did he have a restaurant? He used pecan and mesquite. He taught me a lot. 1,000 gallon is what I learned on at age 30. Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I like I said, I'm looking to get a 500 bill, and if things go well, and I like the smoker, and business is picking up and everything, and it business is going to support getting another 500, then I'm gonna get another 500. So I have 1,000 gallon capacity total, um, but I'm starting with the 500 is what I'm doing. He was Jeremy. Did he have a restaurant that I would know of? Did he have a restaurant that I would know of, or what, man? And do you still have that 1,000 gallon smoker? We might have to make a deal, man. Ronald, I just started learning how to smoke barbecue on YouTube. That's great, man. I'll be honest with you. That's partially where I got my remedial education from. A lot of my remedial education, actually. So, for those of you guys who don't know, my name's actually Sean. Kirby was my grandfather. He passed away in 2016. But Kirby, he actually was in barbecue contests. He won barbecue contests in Kansas City back in the 90s, and he was big in the barbecue scene. He taught me how to not only grill, just hamburgers, hot dogs, that kind of thing, but actually taught me how to barbecue and do briskets and ribs and turkeys and all that kind of stuff as I was growing up. Kind of similar to Jeremy, he taught me even younger than that, probably 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and beyond. And he taught me how to barbecue originally, and I kind of fell in love with the process and everything like that. And he would use vertical smokers. He would use vertical smokers. He had an offset as well, but he would use vertical smokers a lot of the time. And he taught me the kind of how to do that. And then one of my first jobs was actually in a pizza place. Following that, I worked restaurants. Long story short, I managed restaurants. I was a managing partner for about 8 years, and so I got a lot of restaurant experience, albeit not barbecue. It was in other food categories, and so I learned a lot on the culinary side as well as the operations side of a restaurant in that time. And these were big, big, big restaurants, guys, making $1, $2 million a year. And then the COVID happened. I got into the insurance industry, left the restaurant business, was in the insurance industry for from 2020 to 2024 ish, 2023, 24 ish. Okay. And I just had the itch, probably 6, 7 months ago to get back into food and barbecue. I started looking up a lot of barbecue content on YouTube. um, this was when people were making a lot of videos on Goldie's in Fort Worth because they got number one Texas Monthly. I just started absorbing all this content and really kind of fell in love with barbecue for the second time. The first time was learning from my grandpa. The second time was, like I said, 6, 7 months ago, looking up YouTube videos, figuring stuff out. I knew I wanted to start a business. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet. But when I started watching these barbecue videos just for fun, I kind of fell in love with what they were doing. And I said, hey, you know what? If I can kind of re educate myself and get caught up on what people in barbecue are doing these days and match that with my restaurant experience, then I think I can knock this thing out of the park. And so that's what I did. I was running pop-ups for about 3, 4 months, and then me and my wife found a restaurant space, and we said, "Hey, we're gonna take this challenge and this opportunity. We're gonna rent the space. We're gonna get it ready. We're still getting it ready for dine-in guys right now. We've been doing pop-ups outside of the restaurant in the restaurant parking lot." While we've been getting permits and building out the smoke shack and doing all that good stuff to get the restaurant ready. And so we're here now. We're here now. That's what's been going on. Let me catch up on these comments. So Ronald, yeah, man, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You go to YouTube University, and you start learning how to smoke barbecue. And don't be intimidated, man. Don't be intimidated. Start learning. There's so much content on YouTube for barbecue these days. Um, Go check it out. And then I'd also encourage you, Ronald. I don't know if you're in Texas or you're somewhere else, but start going to these barbecue joints and start eating there, figuring out what they're doing, ask them for a tour of their pits. Really absorb as much information as you possibly can, whether or not you're just trying to learn about how to smoke it in the backyard, or if you're trying to do it in a restaurant setting, a food truck, just pop ups, whatever. You're going to learn a lot of stuff, and it's either A, going to make your barbecue really, really good for you and your family, or it's going to make you make a career. You can make a career out of it. So good on you, Ronald, man. Keep learning. Jeremy said, no, sir. He was local in our town and got rid of the smoker when I was 17 and went back down to a 250. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense, man. A lot of people, they'll scale up to size like that when they're doing high volume, when they're selling a lot, when they're kind of doing it to make some money, and then when they're ready to kind of stop doing that at that level, they'll go back down to a 500, a 250, or a 150. So that makes sense. Jeremy, getting ready for work as we speak. I'll talk to you later, brother. Keep on pushing and love all your videos. God bless. God bless you, man. You have a good one. I hope you have a good shift, man. And God bless. Your average logical thinker. This don't look like a guy who had emergency surgery. Hey, I got the scars to prove it. I got the stitches still in to prove it. I'm just I like I said, I had it. So I went to the hospital Saturday night. Sunday morning, had surgery, stayed in the hospital all Sunday, and then half of Monday, and got discharged Monday afternoon. So I was home Monday afternoon, Tuesday. resting all day in bed. Wednesday, resting all day in bed. And then today, I finally got out of the house, went and got some breakfast, went to a doctor's appointment, walked a little bit, came back. And I'll be honest, I was tired when I got back. Doesn't sound like a lot, but after you've been cut, it can be a lot. So, and I'm drinking coffee. I'm trying to stay up for you guys. All right, trying to stay up for you guys. So, yeah, so that was the deal. They told me your average logical thinker. They told me 1 to 3 weeks for recovery. They told me 2 weeks until I can really lift anything of substance, anything over 10 pounds. So I'm really trying to kind of follow what the doctors are saying because what I don't want to do is I don't want to re-injure myself or prolong me getting back because every day I'm not back, it's more money that I'm losing from not being open. So I'm trying to do the healing I need to do, trying to do some work that I can do right while this is going on. So I said I'm going to hop on live. I'm going to talk to the people. I'm going to tell them what's going on. Try to get some good information out there. I got books I'm reading. I got a couple. These are good books that I'm reading. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Capitalism and Freedom. I'm not going to talk too much on the books because I lose my barbecue people, but I do have a barbecue cookbook I need to get into. Bledsoe's barbecue cookbook. This guy's really big in the barbecue space. He actually has a show on Netflix that he's in called Barbecue Showdown, I believe. So check that out on Netflix. It's really entertaining. I think it's called Barbecue Showdown. But he's a judge in that show, and it's very, very entertaining. So I went ahead and picked up the book. So I'm gonna be reading. I'm gonna be plotting, planning. And your average logical thinker, the topic was when should you hire an employee? And what I was talking about at the beginning of the video was this was something completely out of my control, and I had to close my restaurant. Excuse me, and until I recover a little bit. And so what I learned was that I should have trained somebody to be able to do my part of cooking the food, preparing the food, smoking the food. I should have hired a pit master and taught them the way that I do it. That way, in the event that something happens, sickness, surgery, funeral, uh, just a scheduling conflict, that they would be able to take my place and keep the restaurant running. And that was something that I did not have the time to do. I don't know if that's an excuse or not. This is all still very new, but that's something that I failed to do up until this point. So that's something I'm working on this week is finding somebody that can come in the event of my absence. That way, I don't have to prolong not being open, and we can get back open, making money, serving some brisket, and putting some smiles on faces. So that's kind of what we're talking about. TJ said, "How often do you think you will be doing the live stream?" I'm not sure, TJ. This is the first live stream I've done on this channel. I was considering. Honestly, I wasn't going to start doing live streams. Um, Speaking of RC, man, I talked to him. He's done a hell of a job building his YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed to his channel, if you like business, if you like stocks, real estate, leveling up in life, go check out his channel. It's RC Edson. You'll be able to find him. He's got like 30,000 subscribers. But when I was talking to him, we talked about it. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, when, at what point should I start doing live streams?" And I want to say we talked about 1,000 subscribers to start doing live streams. And I kind of agreed with him. But the situation was that usually I've got my camera set up, my stand and everything for my camera at the restaurant. And usually I film these videos from the restaurant. And since I wasn't going to be there this week and I'm recovering and I'm at home, I figured, hey, you know what? Um, I'm not going to do a traditional video. I don't have really the equipment that I use for that. So I'm just going to hop on my laptop and do a live stream from the house. So I'm not sure how often I'm going to do live streams. This one seems to be going pretty well. So I may start doing them more often. We'll see. We'll see. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. You might see another one this week. You might see another one this week. Uh, Please do what the doctors say. Yes, I will. I will certainly do what the doctors say. We live and we learn, right? Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? Your average logical thinker, like I said, I've got a lot of restaurant experience. I knew to hire somebody to do what I do. I just hadn't gotten around to it, to be honest with you. I knew I needed to teach somebody how to do what I do. I just hadn't gotten around to it. Sometimes it can be a daunting task, and I know I just need to get it over with, man. Just need to get it over with. Let's see. I'm in North Carolina. They have pitmaster classes around $500. Think about taking a class. It's like a 7-hour class. Ronald, that would be a good investment, man. Depending on what you're wanting to do, that would be a good investment. Okay. Now, what I will tell you is a lot of these pit masters, a lot of these barbecue places will teach you a lot of stuff without you even having to pay them, man. A lot of them will give you tours, a lot of them will answer your questions, a lot of them will give you a lot of information without you having to pay them a dime. And YouTube will fill in the rest. Now, if you're just hell bent on spending the money and you really want that one on one coaching, then that's cool, man. Spend the money. I think it'll be worth it, but just know you don't have to spend that $500 to learn what you need to learn. Okay, you're gonna be just fine between asking people when you go to these barbecue places questions, getting tours of seeing what they're doing, taking notes, tasting their foods and their flavors and what they're doing. YouTube University, as well as trial and error cooking yourself at home. That's what I would recommend anybody do. Now, money is a way to cut the learning curve, though, right? So if you're like, nah, I'm good, I got the money, I'm gonna pay them $500, and I want to take that 7-hour window block for them to teach me exactly what I need to know. That's cool too, man. That's cool too. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what those classes are for. Um, your average logical thinker, I believe that everything happens for a reason. Maybe it wasn't meant for someone to be grilling at this time. You barely opened the restaurant. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And that's kind of where I was at. Was I was like, man, I barely have open. Really don't want to pay a pit master at the moment, and I was just trying to get my day to day stuff taken care of, let alone worry about somebody else and what they were doing. Not to mention, we're not even really open yet. Your average logical thing. We're not even really open yet. We're doing pop up events outside of the restaurant in the parking lot to go only at the moment because we're still trying to build out what we need to build out in the restaurant space and get our permits and stuff like that. So we're not even technically open yet. So yeah, it happened very, very quickly. Like I said, um, TJ, this is a good venue for a live stream just to talk about how it's going. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I think I may end up doing maybe a weekly live stream as kind of an update. Maybe I'll title it with something clever, but within that title, maybe it'll be a restaurant update, something like that. So to give you guys an idea with that in mind, give me a second here. Kind of the update right now is we just got blueprints drawn up for the smokehouse. So that may be easy or hard to see. But basically, it's going to be a 10 by 16 structure with the top 3 feet of it cut out, and it's going to be mesh on those top 3 feet so we can get some good ventilation. It's going to have a 6 foot sliding door that kind of opens all the way. So I'm sorry, I said sliding. Not necessarily going to be sliding. You're going to be able to pretty much swing it open. Okay, because the health department requires an enclosed structure for if you're going to be cooking outside, even though they don't require that for temporary events like I do with the pop-ups. And they don't require all these food trucks and all these taco places. They just cook out there in the open. But for me, you know, rules are different for some reason, and they want an enclosed structure. So that's what we're going to do. No biggie, we'll get it done. And so we're building that, and then we're planning on purchasing a 500-gallon smoker here in the next few months. to put in there. In the meantime, we'll be using the smokers that I already have. For those of you who are not in Texas or don't really know, hey, what is a 500-gallon smoker? Google it. But essentially, what they do is they take a 500-gallon propane tank and they turn it into a smoker. They turn it into a smoker, and it's pretty cool. Or they'll take a 1,000-gallon propane tank or a 250-gallon propane tank and turn it into a smoker. It's really cool process, actually. Ronald, thank you for the information. Yeah, man, no problem. Like I said, I'm just trying to save you some money, but if you want to do that, that's on you. You'll learn a lot either way. I'm glad you decided to do live stream under 1,000 subs because that's when I gain the most followers. Really? Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I've had other channels before, not cooking related, not barbecue related, and you're actually kind of right. The subscribers who stick around, the subscribers who are really commenting on videos, typically they do come under 1,000 subscribers. Those are typically your most loyal subscribers because, excuse me, they followed you and subscribed to you for your content, not for your following. Sometimes when people go to a channel and they see 20,000 subscribers, they're kind of just hopping on the bandwagon, right? They're like, oh, well, 20,000 people subscribed. Maybe I should too. But when you're under 1,000 subscribers, people aren't subscribing to you because you're popular. They're subscribing to you because they like your content. So, no, I get that for sure. But like I said, I might do a weekly live stream as an update on the restaurant, what we're doing, how everything's going. But we plan on continuing to do these pop-ups at our location on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 5. Uh, address to the address to the restaurant is on our website. We will not be open this upcoming weekend, uh, but we're going to try to be open again by the end of the month. Sorry, guys, I'm slurring my words here. By the end of the month, we'll find out. I will let you know. I'll update you here on YouTube. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow Kirby's Barbecue on Instagram. I post on there all the updates before I ever get them to YouTube, so you'll know when we're open and what's going on Instagram before YouTube. So you'll know. That's true too. Most people that watch aren't even sub. Yeah, exactly. Most people who watch YouTubers' videos aren't even subscribed. Usually, it's like I want to say it's like 50 to 60% of people who watch others' YouTube videos are not even subscribed. People got commitment issues, I guess. Me, I like to pick, like, if I subscribe to a channel, it's because I know I'm going to watch their content day in and day out. If I think I'm going to skip over all their videos, I'm not going to subscribe to them. And what I do is periodically I'll go through the people that I'm subscribed to, and I'll unsubscribe to the channels that I haven't watched their videos in a while, or I've seen all their videos pop up. Here's the thing: if you're looking at your phone, right, and you see somebody that you're subscribed to upload a video, and you go, no, I'm good. I'm not going to watch that. And then you do that the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Why are you subscribed to them? Just unsubscribe. It don't make any sense, right? So I'll go through the people that I subscribe to all the time, and I'll clean it up because I don't want the notifications, and B, it's just clogging up mental headspace. So I do that all the time. I just found your channel today, and I've watched your videos. I appreciate that, TJ. Yeah, man. It looks like views are picking up. More people are finding the channel, which is great. Ultimately, I want to be able to get as much education on barbecue and opening a restaurant out there as possible, doing pop ups, food trucks, all that good stuff. Um, I want to get as much information about that out there as possible because I know it's something a lot of people want to do. I know going into the future and we won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but with AI and all these things, automation taking over jobs and whatnot, more people are having to become business owners and entrepreneurs. And food is one of those things that you can learn how to do. And kind of, if you're in a specialty food, at least right now, they do have some cooking robots that are dropping fries and flipping burgers and stuff like that. But as of right now, you're safe in the food industry for the most part if you're going to open up your own food concept. Barbecue's unique because um, that'll be that'll be the last thing that they'll train a robot how to do because it's just so labor intensive. There's a lot of heat. It's just it's a very there's things that it would be very hard to train a robot how to do that you need to know and do in barbecue that you just learn from doing over and over and over again. Like the gentleman in here who had the 1,000-gallon smoker. Every time you fire up your smoker, whether it's a big one or a small one, there's something different that you have to do. There's something different that happens during the cook. It's not like baking. Baking, if you have a recipe and you're baking a cookie, you got your cookie recipe. You mix everything in the bowl, you whisk it up, make sure it's all mixed well. You pour it into a cookie sheet, you throw it in the oven at 300 for 20 minutes, and they're done. And as long as you're cooking in the same oven with the same recipe at the same temperature, they're gonna for the same amount of time, they're gonna come out exactly the same every single time. Okay, that's not how barbecue works. Barbecue, there's so many different factors. What type of wood you're using? How dry is it? Did it rain the day before? How much humidity? How much moisture is in the air? How much wind is going on? Is it a cool wind? Is it a warm wind? Is that wind blowing in the direction of your firebox and blowing all that wind into your firebox, bringing that heat and oxygen into your cook chamber and really heating things up quickly? Is that happening? Or is it still? Is the air still? Everything's calm, but nothing's happening, right? What parts of your smoker run hotter than others? Okay. What proteins go best where? Well, if you're cooking a brisket for 10, 12, 11 hours, you probably don't want it close to the heat because it's going to burn up in that time. You probably want it as far away from the heat source as possible. So there's all these different things that make cooking barbecue unique to anything else. And that's part of the reason why, you can't just train anybody to do it. It takes time to learn it, right? It takes time to learn it. Um, do you only advertise on Instagram? Do you use local radio to get customers as well? Um, as of right now, it's just Instagram and word of mouth. Uh, Radio is not a bad idea, especially where I'm at, but we're not quite open yet. So when we actually open the restaurant for service for customers, then I will get a little bit more creative with our advertising strategy. But as of right now, it's just Instagram, word of mouth, and just drive-by traffic. We have a lot of traffic in the area where I'm at. It's a high volume area, and so we rely heavily on the community in that area to support us, and they will. Where I'm at in Texas, barbecue is a big thing down here. And if you've got a smoker out there that people can see the smoke, they can smell the smoke, you're producing a good product, then people will stop and come back time and time again. That's why I say, like, you don't want to just start any food business. You need to figure out what's popular in your area. Okay. If you're in an area with a lot of Vietnamese people, and let's say you're Vietnamese, okay, and you want to bring Vietnamese cuisine to that area because there's really not a lot of authentic Vietnamese restaurants there. And you decide to buy a pop up tent and you decide to buy a grill or whatever the case may be, a Blackstone, and you're going to create authentic Vietnamese dishes and sell them. If you're in a Vietnamese community and there's a lack of options there that are actually authentic and you know people in the community and you can reach out to people, you're going to be successful. But if you say, "Oh, I'm just going to start selling hamburgers and hot dogs on the side of a random road in a random community," that might not work out too well for you. Now, if you say, "You know what? I'm going to post up at a baseball stadium on Saturdays when all the kids have baseball games and sell hamburgers and hot dogs. And oh, by the way, I have permission from the people who own the stadium to do that." That's a different story. You're probably gonna be very busy. Those kids are out there playing. The parents are hungry. The kids are hungry after the games. They're all dirty. They just want to get some food and go home. Then you'll be successful. So it's about positioning and it's about where you're at. You know, if I was in I don't know, Washington State. I don't really know how popular barbecue is in Washington State. I mean, somebody, if you've been to Washington for an extended period of time, I've been in there, but only for like a weekend. But if you're from Washington and there's certain food that people in Washington State really, really come out for, then do that, right? Um, but you got to know your niche. You got to know who you're serving. Location, location, location. Exactly, exactly. Yes, I've literally pulled over after smelling barbecue and seeing smoke. Yeah, absolutely. In certain areas, that's a thing. In certain areas, that's absolutely a thing. Whereas in other areas, people might not stop, right? I had somebody ask me, I don't know, my AirPods just died. Let me know, guys, if the audio is okay. I had somebody ask me, how are you successful just, pulling up on the side of the road with the tent and selling stuff, selling food? And I told him, man, this barbecue, it's different. I've seen other people try different things and it hasn't really worked for them because it just doesn't have that alert. There's something about barbecue in Texas that, uh, excuse me, that people will stop for. Sorry, guys, when I had that surgery, they there was a breathing tube that they used during the surgery because I had it. I was under anesthesia, and they had to pump gas in my stomach when they did the surgery and stuff. So burping a lot, it's sorry. Um, but yeah, so you got to know your niche, who you're serving, what you're going to serve, and if that's going to be a plausible thing. Um, and like I mentioned before, I would choose a food item or a food category that is not necessarily easy to do. I wouldn't probably do burgers and fries. When I was in the industry, I was a part of a gourmet burger concept that worked because we were in high end areas serving expensive burgers with expensive beef, and we were grinding all of our beef in house. We made our buns from scratch. All the sauces, dressings, all that stuff was made from scratch in house. So it worked. But if you think you're just going to go to Sam's Club and buy a case of frozen hamburger patties and some sesame seed buns, dollar package sesame seed buns from Walmart and some Lay's chips and a soda, I don't know how successful you're going to be unless you're in those situations like at a stadium or something like that. Texas and Florida, good barbecue. Here in Virginia, these people can't cook and grill worth a damn. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. I believe that 100%. And in the East Coast, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, those kind of areas, they can have decent barbecue, but all they eat out there, all they barbecue out there is pork, man. Here in Texas, it's beef. It's beef. Yes, we do pork spare ribs. Occasionally, you'll see some restaurants do pulled pork. In the Carolinas, it's all pulled pork. Pulled pork, ribs, it's all pork down there. When you say barbecue down there, they think you're talking about a whole hog, pulled pork out of a whole hog. Here in Texas, when we say barbecue, we're talking about beef. We're talking about brisket. If you got a good brisket and everything else is average around here, you're good to go. People will come just for the brisket. That's how it is. That's how it is. I've had some smoked turkey burnt ends. That was good, but other than that, no. Yeah, I love doing turkey. That's something that's on our menu is smoked turkey. I think our smoked turkeys. I'd put my smoked turkey up against anybody else in the state. Our smoked turkey's really, really good. Really, really good. That's one of my favorites. It's really good for us working too because we eat the pork and the beef all the time, and the turkey's a good way to mix it up. For me personally, um, kind of have something lighter to eat during the day. So yeah, smoked turkey is great. I can't after smoking the amount of turkeys that I've smoked. There's actually a video on my channel of me smoking 300 pounds of turkey for a catering. Um, After I've smoked as much turkey as I have, it's really hard for me to eat turkey any other way. It really is. It just if you bake it, air fry it, things like that. It can come out okay, but that smoky flavor, there's something about it on a turkey. It's just so good. It's just so good. But definitely let me know other topics y'all want me to talk about. I have a pretty good idea of the information that you guys are looking for now after I've done, not a bunch of videos, but 10, 12, 13 videos. I have a pretty good idea what you guys are looking for. A lot of you guys really like the food truck content, the restaurant content, as far as how to open, what you need to do to open these things and operate these things. So I think I'm going to continue going down that path of teaching how to actually do the operations of it rather than just being a cooking channel. I am going to throw in some cooking stuff. The video I did on how to make a Texas style brisket was pretty popular. People really enjoyed that long tutorial on how to do that. So I may revisit some stuff like that, but I think I'm really going to focus on the business of it as well because you guys seem to really, really like that. Are you using Restaurant Depot for your food or a food supplier? I am using a food supplier, TJ. I currently use Gordon Food Supply. There's several different food supply places, um, depending on your area. Around here, we have Gordon. There is a Restaurant Depot, and then Cisco is a really big one, uh, but I don't think they do small accounts. I'm very familiar with Cisco from my days operating big multi-million dollar restaurants. I don't know if Cisco has many small accounts. Uh, excuse me. I really like Gordon Food Supply for smaller businesses because there's no order minimum. They will deliver to you if you're in reasonable range for free, by the way. And you do have to have a commercial address, however. So if you're just doing it out of your house, you're still doing pop ups, food truck stuff like that, you'll have to go pick up your order. But the store is open to the public. You don't need any fancy membership. You don't have to pay them anything. You can walk into a Gordon Food Supply and buy whatever you want to buy. You don't even have to have a restaurant business to go in and purchase from them. But they're very flexible. You can order online if you make a business account. So usually, what I'll do is if I'm serving for the weekend, what I'll do is I'll place an order maybe Sunday night, I'll place an order for pickup on Wednesday, and then Wednesday morning, I'll drive up to Gordon, throw everything in the truck, take it to where I'm going to store it, the house or whatever. Now it's the restaurant. Now that I have a restaurant, they can actually deliver it to me, which is cool. And then I'm good to go. I'm good to go. And if you're going to use, by the way, if you're going to use first of all, if you're going to be selling food to the public, you're supposed to be ordering your food from a certified restaurant. And I don't think that's the exact terminology, but you're supposed to be getting your food from a real wholesale dealer of food. You're not really supposed to be going to Walmart, Kroger, Sam's Club to buy your food because that's not a approved vendor for you to resell from. So you're supposed to be going to one of these places. Now, the other advantage of doing so is like a Gordon or a Cisco. I've never been to Restaurant Depot, but I would assume it's the same. They've got bulk pricing. So the pricing that you get on items is going to be a lot better than if you were to just try to go get it from the grocery store. Way better. Way better. Now you're going to spend a little bit more because you're buying by the case, but your price per item, the price per unit is going to be way cheaper. Let's see. Are they expensive? No, like I said, they're cheaper. It's going to be cheaper for you to buy in bulk and buy from a restaurant supplier because they know you have to resell that food. So there's margin built in there. Definitely cheaper than your grocery store, especially if you're doing it at any type of scale because you're going to be able to order by the case. And that's what you ultimately want to do because your cheapest price is going to be ordering by the case, period. You'll see, as an example, you could buy, I'm just throwing numbers out there, you could buy one brisket at $5 a pound, or you could buy a case of four briskets at $4.49 a pound. So you're saving 60 cents a pound on your brisket. And these briskets 15-pound briskets, that could be a lot of money adding up. So you take the 60 cents times the 15 pounds times four. So that's 60 pounds times 60 cents. I don't know what that is, $36. I think that's $36 per case. So, at volume, yeah, you're saving a lot of money. Cisco, no, Cisco's not expensive. Cisco's pretty reasonable, but like I said, I think they only do big accounts, and you definitely have to have an account with them to buy their food for sure. So, and then Restaurant Depot, yeah, you have to be a member, but I don't think it costs anything, or if it does, it's not very much. It's worth doing. It's worth doing for the cost of it, and it's worth doing for the legitimacy of your business. Also, if someone ends up getting sick, one of the ways that you can combat a lawsuit, one of the ways, is by having an approved food vendor to supply your food. If somebody gets sick and they start asking questions, oh, where did you buy the food? And number one, you don't have a receipt. Number two, you bought it from Walmart down the road. They're gonna be like, yeah, no, we're coming after this guy. But if you have business insurance, food liability insurance, which I can talk about that if necessary, but food liability insurance is a really good company out there called FLIP, stands for Food Liability Insurance Program. They're specifically for pop-ups and food trucks. Okay, pop-ups and food trucks. They cost me, I think, $29 a month, and they cover me for pop-ups, food trucks, farmers markets, events like that. If anybody gets sick, anything like that, that insurance is in place to handle those things. So between that and buying your food from an approved source, that's just going to make you kind of bulletproof. Okay, to make you kind of bulletproof as far as food liabilities because you're getting it from an approved source and you got your insurance. So, TJ, where are you located, man? Are you in the Houston area? I can't remember if you said you were or not. If you are, find a Gordon. Go on your maps and find a Gordon because that's going to be the best. That's going to be the best bet for you, in my opinion. Yes, operational side is great content because it can be applied to different businesses. Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of the things that I talk about for the restaurant business can be applied to other businesses, i.e., what we just talked about, the insurance, right? If you're in a business that's high risk, you need to make sure you have insurance, even if you're just starting. If you're making custom hoodies and if you're making clothing items, you probably don't need business insurance. I ran an online apparel company and I have no business insurance. You don't really need business insurance for that. No one, you're not going to get in trouble for anything selling clothing, right? Um, but if you're serving food, that's a different story. If you're in a high risk business, and when I talk about high risk, I want you to think about anything that people are consuming, food, drink, anything that's dangerous. um, these sound kind of obvious, but think fireworks, think firearms, think what else, guys? What else? Uh, I don't know. Any business where your customers can get hurt, injured, or ill from what you're selling or providing them, you need to have insurance. It is at Restaurant Depot, but you have to be a member. Yeah, we talked about that. New Orleans, yeah, physical activity. So there's a lot of places around here for entertainment. They have all kinds of different games that you can play, gosh, I don't know why it's eluding me, like the escape rooms, or even if you had a bowling alley, things like that. Okay, people can fall down, break their ankle, stuff like that. You need to have insurance. You need to have insurance. What other questions you guys got? What other questions you guys got? I can sit here all night long, but I want to answer the questions that you guys have and get back to my evening. And I will be back with you guys posting some more restaurant content, hopefully over the next couple of days. I need to go check on the restaurant, see what's going on up there. We had some work done, so I need to verify that was done correctly. So I'll probably go up there tomorrow and figure out what's going on. New Orleans. So you're in New Orleans, TJ. Um, what kind of food are you planning on selling? I know you said you were planning on doing something. Are you planning on doing barbecue, or are you planning on doing different type of food down there? I'm interested to know because I've been to New Orleans a couple times. Obviously, Cajun food's a big thing down there, but you got a lot of competition. So I don't know if that would be the route to go or not. You said barbecue. Okay. Um, what type of barbecue? Because barbecue in New Orleans is going to be a little bit different than barbecue in Texas. So some people will do the barbecue type of barbecue that is popular in their region, or you can take a really popular concept like Texas style barbecue and bring it to where you're at in New Orleans. And that could be something different that people know Texas for barbecue. So, like I said, you could either do New Orleans style barbecue, Texas style barbecue, right? Cajun style barbecue, exactly right, because that's what your people will identify, your community will identify with, or you know, you say, you know what, I went to Texas, I tried, or I looked up a lot of Texas barbecue online. My community doesn't have anything like that. I want to bring Texas style barbecue to New Orleans. You got to figure out what your niche is, what you're going to do. So you said all kind brisket, pork, so on. Yeah, no, I get that, TJ. But we all barbecue the same thing. There's only so many types of proteins out there, right? But it's in the style, right? It's in the seasonings, it's in the techniques, it's in the temperatures of how you do it. Like some people will smoke briskets hot and fast. Some people get briskets done in 7 to 9 hours, right? Other people, like myself, cook it low and slow. It's going to take 10, 12 hours, right? That's more of a traditional Texas style brisket. It's 10 to 12 hours. In other places, they might do it hot and fast, right? Um, in different parts of the country, they might use more exotic seasonings on their brisket, right? Maybe they use lemon pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, so on and so forth. In Texas, it's mostly salt and pepper, and sometimes seasoned salt. But mostly on most of our proteins here in this area in Central Texas, a lot of it is salt and pepper, and we let the wood and the meat do the talking. You know, now I will say there's been a wave of craft barbecue in Central Texas lately, and people have gotten really creative with the different rubs and spices and different things they use. You just got to figure out, TJ, exactly what you want your kind of signature to be, as far as your flavors and things like that. And whatever you're going to do, you got to match it to your side, match your sides to what you're doing, right? So, sorry, guys. So yeah, you got to figure that out, right? Great info, Kirby. Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Ronald said North Carolina has a lot of vinegar-based barbecue sauces. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They have a lot of vinegar-based barbecue sauces, and other places have, you know, different different types of sauces, right? I think there's somewhere on the East Coast they do a white barbecue sauce. I think that's like mayonnaise based or something. That's kind of wacky to me, being in Texas. But yeah, so it depends, man. It depends, um, and you really got to kind of cater towards your style as well as what your customers are going to want in your community. TJ said here it would need to be more seasoned than just salt and pepper. Yeah, I know it's New Orleans, man. So that's what I'm saying. You're gonna throw some Tony Chachere's on them ribs, or some other Creole seasonings. Are you gonna do some dirty rice as a side? Are you gonna do smoked chicken and sausage gumbo? Right. So yeah, just figure out what you're gonna do and roll with it. Let's see. I think Jeremy's asking, how do you feel about 16 plus hours on brisket? It's too long, too long. In my opinion, anything over 12, you are drying out the brisket as far as cooking goes. Now, you could have some stubborn briskets that are in the stall a little too long, and that cook might be pushed out to maybe 13, 14, 15, 16 hours. Um, the longest cook I've ever had was 16 hours, and that was like one of my first cooks. And I was very inexperienced. I didn't know what I was doing. The temperature was fluctuating everywhere. But if you can control the temperature of your smoker and you can gradually have it increase to where you need it to be. Usually I start at about 225 and they finish the temperature of the smoker finishes at 275. Okay. If you can control the temperature of your smoker and have a smooth ascent in temperature throughout the cook, then your brisket should finish within 12 hours. Okay. And when I say finish, I'm saying taking the brisket to about 203 degrees is where I take my briskets. 203 degrees if you're going by degrees. You can also go by feel. I can talk about that in another video on how it feels. But um, yeah, 16 is entirely too long. And there's different methods that you can use to speed up a cook or slow down a cook. So some people do a no wrap brisket. That's kind of really old school, is a no wrap brisket where you cook the entire brisket completely unwrapped. Okay. Even a no wrap brisket, I finished in 12 hours. Okay. Um, with temperature control. Now, because you got to understand, after 12 hours, you're not getting any more smoke. You've already got plenty of smoke. Okay. You're not getting any more texture. You've already got plenty of texture. You're not getting any more color. You're not doing anything to the brisket special after 12 hours except for drying it out. That's it. So, whether you leave the brisket unwrapped, you wrap it in foil during the cook, whatever. I think 12 hours maximum. If I had a brisket on longer than 12 hours, I'd be getting pretty worried. And it's also going to go with what size that also is going to depend on what size your brisket is too, right? Do you have a little 8-pound baby brisket or do you have a 15-pound big boy? How much are you trimming? Okay. All these factors, Jeremy, I know you have a little experience with this. Your father did, so on and so forth. He may have cooked them for a long time. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of different factors in there. It's a little nuanced. Okay, there's no fast and hard rules, but the way that I trim my briskets, the way that I season, the way that I do them, anything over 12 hours is going to be far too long. Far too long. Let's see, Alabama white sauce. I think. Yep, that's what it's called. Alabama white sauce. When New Orleans people travel, most food elsewhere tends to be bland tasting. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that. I lived in Louisiana for a while, not New Orleans, but I lived in Louisiana for a while, and that's true. Um, what I use on my briskets is 16 mesh black pepper, kosher salt. That allows you to build up a nice, good black bark, and then I go over it with a hefty amount of Lowry seasoned salt. That gives me the exact flavor profile that I'm looking for personally. Uh, TJ said, sounds good. Jeremy, thank you. I saw the same thing. Glad we agreed. Yeah, no, for sure. Pops was 8 to 12 hours on brisket. Yeah, yeah. If you're spending more than 12 hours on a brisket, you're just drying it out. Now, what I will say is I do believe in a long, hot hold. Okay, and that's where you cook the brisket. You do your 10 to 12 hour cook because really you're not looking for a specific time on the smoker. What you're looking for is, does it look right? Does it have the color that you want? Does it have the bark that you want? Is it at a temperature to where the meat is tender enough and the collagen and the fat has rendered enough to where it becomes really, really soft and gelatin like? If you see golden fat, that's good. If you see white fat, that means the fat hasn't fully rendered yet, hasn't fully melted. You're looking for a brisket to be jiggly in your hands. When you touch it, it should go in like a soft pillow, right? So those are things you're looking for to see if your brisket's done. But I always tell people who are beginning that aren't going to be able to tell those things by just touching and feeling it. 203 degrees. If you pull your brisket off at 203, you're going to be in the money. You're going to be good. I've had briskets that are done at 190. I've had briskets that I've had to take to 210. So 203, you're in the window. You're good. You can pull it off. without having to feel it or anything like that. Okay. And then what I do is I take that brisket off the smoker, wrap it in butcher paper or foil with beef tallow that I render down on the stove from the trimmings that I when I trim the brisket, take all the fat, put it in a pot, throw it on the stove, let it just cook and cook and cook, and then you're gonna get a bunch of liquid beef fat. And then what I do is I wrap my brisket, I pour that beef fat over the top, wrap it up real tight, okay? And then I throw it in my hot holding unit. It's a electric warmer. Um, overnight, and I let it rest for about 10 to 12 hours. So it's a 10 to 12 hour cook, 10 to 12-hour rest. And if you don't have a big fancy warmer like that, what you can do is you can take that brisket that's wrapped in butcher paper or foil, wrap it in a big old towel, and put it in an insulated cooler, and it will hold for 6, 7, 8. You're probably good for 8 to 10 hours, maybe 12 in an insulated cooler, like a Yeti or something like that. Don't have a Yeti, you just got a regular $10 cooler from Walmart. Wrap it in more towels, make sure that it's sealed real tight, and you'll be okay. And what that does is it allows the muscles in that brisket to relax again, okay? Because when they're that hot and cooked, they're all tight and agitated, and it allows the temperature of your brisket to come down slowly, okay, and really start. And it's still cooking, guys. It's something called carryover cooking. So that fat and the collagen and everything, it's still breaking down while it's resting. And it by the time you're ready to serve it in 8, 10, 12 hours, you pull it out of that warmer, open it up, you're gonna have a brisket that's absorbed. It's used all that time to absorb all of that beef fat back into the brisket, which adds moisture back into it. Okay. Because you got to think this whole 10, 12-hour cook, you've been extracting moisture out of it by cooking it. Now you're putting it back in. And when you slice into the thing, it's just going to be very, very juicy. That's the way you want to do it. If you can. Yes, that's the way you want to do it. That's the way you want to do it. Uh-huh. But guys, I appreciate you stopping in with me. I'm gonna hop off here shortly. Thank you guys so much. The channel's been growing very quickly. Appreciate that. I need to get more content out for you guys. That's something I plan on doing. If there's any type of video suggestions that you want me to do a video on, message me on Instagram or leave them in the comment section on one of my videos, and I will be glad to answer those questions for you. But with that being said, you guys have a great night, and I hope you guys barbecue something this weekend. See ya.